This edition of Locked On Capitals, the Washington Capitals fall to the Vegas Golden Knights by a score of 4-3 in overtime, but that wasn't the story of the game. The story of the game was the historic night of Alex Ovechkin as he gets his 50th goal of the season. It marked his 1,410th career point, 780 goals, 630 assists, moving him past Dale Hawerchuk for the 20th most points in NHL history. This is the ninth 50-goal season for Ovechkin, tying him with Mike Bossy and Wayne Gretzky for the most points. Caps fans out there, just really let this resonate that you are watching history every night that Alex Ovechkin is on the ice. He's peeling off milestones one after the other. We'll talk about the game next.
Locked On Capitals, your daily podcast on the Washington Capitals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome into this early morning edition of Locked On Capitals. I'm so glad you decided to join me today. As always, this podcast is free and available on all the major platforms. You can find me on Twitter. It's at DanCaps218. You can find Locked On Capitals on Twitter. It's at Locked On Caps. My name is Dan Holby. I'm, again, so glad you decided to join me today. This is a very early morning edition as I record this. This is 12:15 a.m., so if you're on the East Coast, 1:15 a.m., wow, it's just, I have a hard time getting used to these games that are this late, so good thing there's only one more real late game coming up against Arizona on Friday. But the story of the game tonight was Alex Ovechkin. I know that the Capitals lost in overtime, and it would have been really nice for them to pick up that win because they're trying to bump up a spot in the standings. But you know what it was about was that, the Vegas Golden Knights had a lot of fight into them because they had a lot at stake in this game tonight. If they would have lost tonight, most likely that would have been the end of their playoff hopes. So I think that, just their will to win outweighed the Washington Capitals, and it was a tough one on them out there because the Capitals had been playing so well. So for this Vegas team that has struggled, for a lion's share of the season, they've had inconsistency in net, kind of a lot like the Washington Capitals. So anyway, to the main point of the night is that Alex Ovechkin gets another 50-goal season. I mean, he just keeps peeling off record after record. And, like I was saying in the beginning of the show, just be thankful and just kind of let that resonate where you are right now. Witnessing Alex Ovechkin make history every single day that he's on the ice. It just seems like, in the month of March alone, every time he hit the ice, he was breaking a milestone. So it just seems like every time he plays a game, that there's a good chance that he's going to make history. And just a really great night for Alex Ovechkin, who gets 2 goals. And, like I've talked about, it doesn't seem like he is slowing down one bit, does it? It seems like he's aging like a fine wine. And, people are talking about how long can this maintain? I know that he is getting older, but I mean, it's got to slow down sooner or later. And it will in time, but for right now, just let him keep going after his goal and all these milestones and eventually passing Wayne Gretzky. But what a great night out there. And I guess the story of the game would have been some inconsistency in Ilya Samsonov. I mean, it wasn't a horrible game, but Ilya is the kind of goaltender that he allows some soft goals, and he allowed at least 2 soft goals tonight. And I mean, he was under pressure, so I mean, it wasn't totally his fault, but some of those were just goals that he should have stopped. So there's no real excuse for those ones. So there's more questions about who's going to be in net for the Washington Capitals. Do they go back to VTech when they play the Coyotes on Friday? It seems like the questions abound. But overall, I'm going to concentrate on is that Alex Ovechkin, he did it. He got another 50-goal season. And, like I say, just peeling off record after record. So the game tonight, Sammy started in net, which was, not too surprising. He likes to go with a hot hand. In this case, it's Ilya Samsonov. And he played pretty good to start off the game. But, like I was talking about, this Vegas Golden Knights team was on a mission. They had to win tonight, or like I say, that would have been pretty much the end of their playoff hopes. But it was a good sign. They had Wilson on the top line. So that was that physical presence out there. And he's not just a physical presence. Tom Wilson is an elite goal scorer. But it's always good to have him on the top line to kind of free the lane between Kuznetsov and Alex Ovechkin out there. So if you're asking me, that's the line I would stick with. So Ovi shoots, Leonard allows a leaky goal to Kuzi, who was waiting at the front of the net. The Capitals take a 1-0 lead with a goal from Evgeny Kuznetsov, his 24th of the season, 3 shy of tying his career high of 27 set. In the 17-18 season, Alex Ovechkin and Nick Jensen each picked up assists. Ovechkin has reached the 40 assist mark for the 7th time of his career and first since the 2010-2011 season, which he had 53 assists, while Jensen has reached the 20-point mark for the second time in his career. That was in the 18-19 season. So not only did he get to the 50 goal mark, but Ovechkin reached the 40 assist mark. So that's, kind of what that ties this whole episode together. Is just that would be the title of this show, is just Ovechkin. I don't want the loss to overshadow the great night for Alex Ovechkin. And that's what I'm going to take away from this game. I'm not, I'm a little upset that they didn't win the game, of course, but that, just in general, just a really great night overall. And then Evgeny Kuznetsov out there, I've talked about him this season, and that, this was a guy last season that was on the trade block. And look at him now. He gets his 24th goal of the season. And it's not like these 20 plus goal scorers grow on trees. So it was good that the Washington Capitals had the right mindset to be like, we're going to hold on to Evgeny Kuznetsov because we think they see some potential in him. And, there was a lot of beat writers around the Capitals that said, well, they would trade him, but they wouldn't get enough for him. Well, I don't care what the reason is. I'm glad that Evgeny Kuznetsov is playing better, because they need, minus those 24 goals of Kuznetsov, those would have been some games that the Capitals would have lost. So just things are going along so well for this team. And then in a truly odd moment, Ovi calls off a penalty. So there was a penalty that was going to be on the player, and he kind of waved it off. So I'm watching this game, and I'm like, what in the hell is going on out there? There was a penalty called, and Ovechkin is waving his hand like, nope, nope. But the thought out there was that it was an embellishment call. It was kind of got Ovi kind of a high stick a little bit. So I think that maybe he thought that they would review it and they would deem it as an embellishment. Otherwise, I heard it was a hand pass. In any case, just kind of a truly odd thing to witness out there. I've never seen anything quite like that, where the player actually waves off the penalty. So then Martinez gets a goal near half ice, a 5-hole. So the Martinez gets the equalizer. It's 1-1, and that was one of the goals I was talking about. That Ilya Samsonov should have stopped it, but it was a goal that was from the left, about halfway, a little bit past halfway down the ice, and he shot it. And he was slightly screened, I would say, and I just don't think that he was expecting that goal to come from that distance. But Martinez fires up that goal, and it goes through the 5-hole. And if you talk to goalies, they say that is one of the hardest ones, is the 5-hole goals, because if it goes high blocker side or high stick side or whatever the case is, you're like, well, it snuck by me. But when it goes 5-hole, that goes right between your legs, and you're either supposed to close the pads or get the stick in there. So I think that those 5-hole goals are one of the most difficult for a goalie to deal with mentally. I think, the look on their face, and just talking to some goalies, that's what they say. It's like, I had to stop that goal. So then Ovi to Kuzi to Carlson, a tic-tac-toe goal, Caps up 2-1, but then not so fast. It was called offsides. DeBoer challenged that the play was offsides, and indeed Wilson was over the blue line before Ovechkin carried the puck in. No goal. And that was kind of one of those fancy goals too, where they shoot it to several different players, and they ended up getting the goal. But in any case, that one was called offsides. And you can kind of just read the bench a little bit too, and you could tell that they weren't celebrating as much as they normally would after a goal. And then in this game, the Capitals, or excuse me, the season, a 13-5 Caps face-off wins in this game. So the Capitals were doing all the right things in this game. They were winning the face-offs, and sometimes they struggle with that. So it was good. I mean, there was some good and bad to take away from this. Some of the bad was just the Capitals got outworked at times in this game. And those are the things that they're going to have to work on, is just overcoming. I mean, I know like that was a hungry Golden Knights team, but they just need to dial it up and not forget what they've learned. All right, after the break, we will continue to talk about this game. But first, Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that gives you the features of $200 sunglasses for a fraction of the price. That means polarized lenses, well-constructed durable frames, and premium high-end finishes. Also, something you won't find anywhere else is Shady Rays' Insane Protection Program. Shady Rays includes lost and broken protection on every pair. They will send you a brand new pair if you lose them, no matter what happened. Give them a try, and if you don't love them, you'll pay nothing. I got a pair of these. I got a great deal on them, and let me tell you, they're great. They're fashionable, and I saved a lot of money. Plus, I have the peace of mind that if I lose or break them, they'll be replaced. It's as simple as that. Plus, 10 meals are donated to fight hunger in America when you shop with Shady Rays exclusively for our listeners. Head to shadyrays.com and use promo code LOCKED ON. That's LOCKEDON to get 50% off 2 or more pairs of Shady Ray sunglasses backed by over 150,000 5-star reviews. So head on over to Shady Rays. They make a great product, and why not save yourself some money in the process? I mean, they're fashionable. You don't need to go out and spend money on sunglasses that they don't have that great of a warranty. All right. Thank you for making Locked On Capitals your first listen. For your next listen, check out Locked On Now podcasts, nightly recaps of every NHL game with analysis from our local experts. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. So at the conclusion of the first, it was tied 1-1. And I think that, part of the thing that the Capitals were dealing with was, they talked about in the game that Alex Ovechkin sat on the bench where he witnessed the game-winning goal in the Stanley Cup. So he does that every time he plays there. And Joe B and Locker were talking about how they witnessed him. He still sits in that same spot and just kind of looks over the ice to kind of relive that moment. That was truly a moment where, Alex Ovechkin got that monkey off his back, so to speak, where he was chasing the Stanley Cup for so long. He finally met his goal. And I think there's kind of spirits in that place. If you're kind of a spiritual person, I think that there's kind of, some demons were exercised on that night for the Capitals to overcome that great momentous moment. And I think that, part of it was that Alex Ovechkin just kind of wanted to live in that moment again and just try to relive it in his mind again. So in the second, Logan Thompson was starting in the net for for the Golden Knights. Leonard got pulled because he wasn't on top of his game, and that goaltending situation for the Golden Knights is kind of a mess. And I was listening to NHL Network Radio, and they said, what did they do with that Golden Knights team? It was a team that in 2018, where they were considered to have one of the best rosters in the NHL. And they just kind of kept parting with players. And then the biggest mistake they made was getting rid of Andre Fleury. They went all in on Leonard because he had one hot season or one or two hot seasons. But I mean, we see how that is playing out. Now, the question is for the Golden Knights, is it Leonard? Is he to blame solely for this? Or is it the defense in front of him? In any case, it's kind of like the Capitals. Our goaltending is kind of a mess. So then Hathaway goes to the box for tripping Kuzi to Ovi from the left circle, 2-1 Caps, his 49th goal of the season at that time. Alex Ovechkin gives the Caps a 2-1 lead with his 49th goal of the season. He has passed Timo Solani for the most goals in a single season by a player age 36 or older in NHL history. Evgeny Kuznetsov and Marcus Johansson each picked up assists on Ovechkin's goal, marking Kuznetsov's second point of the night. 1 goal, 1 assist. His 77 points on the season, 24 goals, 53 assists, are tied for the most in a season in his career. Ovechkin's goal marks his first against a goaltender, Logan Thompson, the 160th goaltender Ovechkin has scored on in his career. There have been 6,741 skaters in NHL history with 160 or fewer goals scored in their career. And it just seems like Alex Ovechkin is just kind of going around the league and marking off, have I scored on this guy? Have I scored on that guy? And he's slowly getting there. He's slowly Xing them off one after one. And, that just going over the game here, breaking down the game with you, because, as you listen to this in the morning, because I know there's a lot of people living on the East Coast that probably didn't stay up for the game. It was a crazy late game. And, but if you're going to, as you listen to this or watch this on YouTube, that's the big takeaway is Alex Ovechkin. Now, they didn't get the result that they wanted. They lost the game. But just as I'm breaking down this game, just listen to all the different things that Alex Ovechkin did on this truly amazing night. And it's going to be one that we're going to remember. And the Capitals don't have too long to sit there and think about it because they're going on to play an Arizona Coyotes team, which, let's face it, doesn't have a lot to play for at this point. They have that arena that they're going to be playing in next year that holds like around 5,000 people. That is insane to me. There's college arenas in my hometown that hold more than that. So they're playing a team on Friday that is just a mess in every sense of the word. But, what am I going to say about that? That is a team that is playing for jobs at this point, and that is what's going on. That is what's going on for them. They're playing for jobs at this point and pride. If you get to the NHL level, you have some pride and you have a compete level. Otherwise, you won't even be playing in the National Hockey League. All right, after the break here, we will finish up talking about the game and what lies ahead for the Capitals. But first, BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting stats and sports info. Find all of the latest sports development, league reviews, and news, including this year's basketball playoffs and the start of the Major League Baseball season. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. And just as kind of a note that some people have been asking me, where are you recording? This isn't the normal room that we see you recording in. Well, truth be told, I have a studio in my basement that I do most of these shows from. But as you know, I'm recording this at 12:30 in the morning, and I have 2 young babies and a wife downstairs that would not be too happy with me podcasting in the next room. So this concludes me doing these late night podcasts from my kitchen, if I can let you see behind the curtain a little bit here. So I got a couple questions on Twitter, so I felt that this would be a really good place to kind of let everyone know what is going on. And if you're listening to this in your car, you probably don't notice a difference at all. So in the third period here, Dadnoff goal with the equalizer from the right circle, soft goal on Sammy. So that was at least the second soft goal on Ilya Samsonov in this game. And then the wheels kind of fall off for Ilya Samsonov. Sammy loses his stick, and then Stevenson, yes, that's Stevenson, who used to play on the Washington Capitals, 2 goals in 49 seconds. And, to a certain extent, I kind of feel bad for Samsonov. He lost his stick, and then the goalie's always put in that position where he's trying to make plays with no stick, kind of just doing dance moves, essentially, in the net. So I can't, at least I would say that the one on Stevenson, I can't blame on him totally. That was the one that he didn't have a stick, so he did the best that he could. Maybe I'm going to hear from people that you're making too many excuses for Ilya Samsonov, but just watch the game back and try to put yourself in his position a little bit. So then Orlov to Ovechkin goal, like I said, his 50th goal from the top of the right circle with the equalizer. That was the 9th 50-goal season for Ovechkin, tying him with Mike Bossy and Wayne Gretzky for the most chance of OV fill T-Mobile Arena. So just a great moment. Just that even if you're not a fan of the Washington Capitals, you can be a fan of Alex Ovechkin, just for that you are witnessing a future Hall of Famer on ice. And I mean, that's really big on the fans from Las Vegas to do that, because let's think about that. That in that building is where the Vegas Golden Knights lost the Stanley Cup to the Washington Capitals. So a tip of my hat to the fans at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas for acknowledging Ovi. What a great moment for Ovechkin, and what a great moment for NHL fans in general to just, kind of stand and just celebrate a great moment in hockey history. And then after that, Samsonov was standing strong after allowing a couple soft goals. And that's kind of the MO of Samsonov, is that sometimes he'll allow some bad goals, and then he tightens all the screws mentally in his head and he ties it down and he figures it out. And he did through the end of the third period. It seems like he was really just ratcheting up the pressure, and he was making the saves that he needed to make in the third. And that was all we could really ask for him. I mean, we can't jump in a time machine, rewind time. He made the saves that he could make. And after that, I mean, we got to move on as Capitals fans. And Ilya Samsonov, we have to move past those goals the Capitals lost. But like I say, you can't keep dwelling on those kind of things. So then, at the conclusion of the game, or the third period, it was 3-3. So then we went to overtime. And I always kind of have a bad feeling as we go into overtime, because oftentimes things don't go the Capitals' way in overtime, and tonight was no exception. Theodore gets a goal. It's a 4-3 win, and everyone in T-Mobile was celebrating. And a great moment for them if you're a Golden Knights fan, is you are hanging on by a string for the playoffs. And let's face it, if they would have lost tonight, that would have been the end of their playoff hopes. Pretty much 100% for sure, 99% sure. So with them winning tonight, that gives them a ray of hope. What does this mean for the Washington Capitals? Well, the Washington Capitals were hoping to move up a spot. I know that they have Pittsburgh, I believe, on top of them. So, I mean, that could have been a bigger night for the Washington Capitals. It wasn't, but I don't think that changes a whole lot for them. You're not going to win every game, and this game is coming off the heels of a really great win against the Colorado Avalanche. A team that is as far as points goes, is the best team in the NHL. So that is what I would concentrate on if I was a Capitals player and a fan, for that matter. So all you got to do is brush your shoulders off a little bit and move on to the next game. And let's honestly just kind of get ready for the playoffs, because that's where the rubber really meets the road for this Washington Capitals team, is who they're going to end up playing in the postseason. And are they going to be able to overcome and beat whatever the team that is? And can they make a deep run into the playoffs? All right. Well, this has been this edition of Locked On Capitals. Again, I'm so glad you decided to join me today. And, good morning to all the people that are listening to this early in the morning. It's not often that you have to do these shows or stay up that late. Now make your second listen Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Host Steele Roden and Flip Livingstone help you become the expert of your fantasy league. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. So once again, thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals. We will talk to you again tomorrow. Have a great evening.